This is day 42 of my 6-mark challenge for AQA GCSE Science. In the run-up to the GCSE exams, each day from Monday to Saturday I'm posting a new video with a 6-mark question for you to use as part of your revision. If you look in the description below, you'll find a link to all of this week's questions and also the playlist containing all of the videos so far. The extended response questions that make up 15% of each paper don't just have to include questions where you're answering in prose. They can also include calculations, provided those are longer calculations that usually involve 2 or maybe even 3 different equations. So this is an example of one of these. It's a 6-mark question, so you now need to pause the video and give yourself 6 minutes to answer it. The first step of answering this question is going to be to identify which equations you need. And the first one is the acceleration question. Now, even if you're not doing your exams in 2022 when I'm making this video, this is on the second equation sheet. So it's one of the ones that you do get given in the exam, but you still need to select it. Then, even if you have been given the equation because you're sitting the exams in 2022, you're going to need to rearrange it. So here we want to make the distance the subject of the equation. So I do that by dividing both sides of the equation by 2 times the acceleration. Then I need to identify the correct numbers from the question and substitute these in. So v stands for the final velocity, which here is 8.94. U is the initial velocity or the starting velocity, which is 3.15. And the acceleration is 0.35. And I would know that that number was the acceleration even if they hadn't used that word in the question, because it's in meters per second squared. And those are my SI units for acceleration. So I substitute in those numbers. And then if I solve that in my calculator, I get a distance of 100 meters. Now it's worth pausing at this point and saying it's a really good idea to make sure that you are really familiar with your calculator, but if you're using a calculator that you're not super familiar with, I would probably break this down just to be sure. Or even if you are really familiar with your calculator, it's worth spending a bit of time at the end of the exam double checking. So as I've done here, I would actually work out what is v squared and what is u squared and what is 2 times a, and I would put those numbers in independently because it's just going to make it a lot harder for anything to go wrong. So now that I've calculated my distance, that was my first equation that I was using. The second equation I'm going to use is going to involve that distance that I've calculated together with the final number from the question, which is work done. So work done is force multiplied by distance. So if you're taking the exams in 2022, then you do get given this equation, but in later years you're not going to get it anymore. So now that we've got the equation, you then need to rearrange it again. So we're going to say that force is work done divided by the distance, and then if I solve that, I do 1,000 divided by 100, so that's 1,000 joules from the question divided by the 100 meters that I worked out, and that gives me a force of 10, and of course because it's a force it's going to be in newtons. Now in 2022 you're not going to be given credit for recalling equations because obviously you've been given them on the equation sheet, but you are going to get a mark for rearranging it, you are going to get a mark for substituting in the values, and you are going to get a mark for working out the distance. Then likewise for our second equation, a mark for rearranging it into the correct format, a mark for substituting in the values, and a mark for your final answer. Occasionally with a question like this, they will give you a separate mark for the units, but actually here they would probably give you an answer line that said newtons at the end, and then they wouldn't give you credit for that in this extended response question. On Monday, we'll be going back to photosynthesis for the last time. Don't forget, there's a link in the description below to all of this week's questions and also the playlist containing all of the videos so far. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that we'll see you back again on Monday for the last week of the 6-mark challenge. If you have found this video useful, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more GCSE Science revision videos coming soon.